Drive around Washington, D.C., and you'll see taxation without representation on their license plates. This reference to the American Revolution shines a light on growing calls for Washington, D.C. to become a state in its own right. Adding D.C. as the 51st state would affect the political balance of power and give a framework for adding states to the Union given current divisions. Before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Before the passage of the Constitution, the U.S. Capitol moved fairly regularly. The government met in various locations in Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York under the Continental Congress and Articles of Confederation. The divide between northern and southern states led to many compromises in the Constitution, including the location of the capital. Southern states feared that northern states would use the location of the capital to influence federal control. Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson compromised to move the capital physically south but give it its own jurisdiction. This way, the capital would be in a central location without being under the jurisdiction of any state. James Madison argued in Federalist 43 that this would prevent members of Congress from being beholden to whichever state the capital was in. This resulted in citizens of Washington, D.C. losing their ability to vote for representatives, senators, and the president. Residents of D.C. would later regain the ability to vote for president with the passage of the 23rd Amendment. Washington, D.C. residents list many reasons why they should become a state. They pay more per capita in federal taxes than any other state, have more residents than Vermont and Wyoming, and have thousands of active military members. Additionally, D.C. manages its own welfare programs like other states. Outside of D.C., statehood is primarily a balance of power issue. The capital is a Democratic stronghold, and becoming a state would add 2 Democrats to the Senate. Naturally, Democrats support it and Republicans oppose it. This follows historical precedent where the 2 dominant political parties would only allow the addition of new states in pairs that would vote for opposite parties. Beyond the balance of power issue, Washington, D.C. would need a constitutional amendment to become a state. The Constitution lays out Washington, D.C. as a federal jurisdiction and is why an amendment was needed to allow residents to vote for president. Barriers to amendments make the chances of this happening incredibly unlikely. Proponents of D.C. statehood generally support adding Puerto Rico as well. Puerto Rico's statehood would not have the constitutional argument against it, but would still be subject to the balance of power issue. This could be resolved by admitting Puerto Rico to the Union while creating the proposed state of Jefferson. Jefferson would be comprised of rural areas of Northern California and Southern Oregon, where the conservative majority believes they are not adequately represented in their state governments. While a possibility, it would require California and Oregon's legislatures to approve the measure first. Given the hurdles previously mentioned, it seems unlikely that any states will be added to the Union without a bipartisan compromise. Do you think Washington, D.C. should become a state? If so, how do you think we can overcome the political hurdles to make it happen? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.